In this weekly wrangle, I want to talk about how dwelling on specific thoughts can allow those things to come true. Whether it's something that's positive or negative, the things that we dwell on in our minds when we're not talking out loud are the things that will guide our subconscious behaviors and decisions, which ultimately make a difference in what manifests in our life. So let me ask you a question to get this started. If we think about chanting, people saying something over and over and over again, and what that does to their subconscious, what that does to their mind, especially if they're chanting something that is meaningful to them, what impact does that have? Well, it's not actually very conclusive when it comes to the different scientific articles that are out there about this topic. But what I think makes a lot of sense is the fact that chanting and this repetition of thoughts can, over time, make its way into your subconscious. When I say chanting, I'm sure many of us picture ourselves in a cult with the robes and the whole dang thing. But hey, that's not what I'm talking about here. Believe it or not, whether you realize this or not, the thoughts in your head that happen over and over and over again are essentially the same thing. And so those things have just as much of an impact on your subconscious as chanting would, if not perhaps more. And we need to be aware of what those repetitions are in our psychology. What are those repetitions? What are those thoughts and places we go to over and over and over again? Because that makes its way to our subconscious, that makes its way to our attitudes, and ultimately to our values. And once these thoughts have made their way to our values, that then becomes part of our habits. And our habits become the things that we manifest into the world. And so because of this chain effect, the thoughts that happen over and over again in our heads have a very indirect but strong correlation to the habits and the attitudes we develop down the line. Here's maybe a good example of this, okay? Like him or not, Steve Jobs was incredible at manifesting different things, different outcomes for the goals that he set off to do. And if you read his book, his biography, he talks about this reality distortion field, which is essentially that force, which is the repetition. It's the vision that happens over and over and over again. It's his ability to just find the target and just lock onto whatever that is. It could be a vision of something. It could be somewhere he wants to be. It could be something that he wants to come into reality. He was able to make everything else around him change by obsessing over that one target. And I know many people would argue, well, okay, everyone else around Steve Jobs actually did it. Yeah, that's true. They obviously influenced a lot of the decisions that he made. And yes, he did take a lot of the ideas from his peers. But the bottom line is that you can't be somebody like Steve Jobs, as an example, without having this ability to manifest the repetition that occurs in your subconscious. Now, you don't have to be aiming as high as he did. You don't have to be trying to change the world with brand new technology and design, left and right. But it is to say that that force, that ability to concentrate on something is extremely powerful, and it's very, very real. So what are those thoughts that happen when you're not talking out loud? What are the things that you keep coming back to? Are they your worries? Are they your hopes? Is this some sort of goal-oriented thing that takes up that thought and that space? What is it exactly that makes up those things that you don't say out loud? Because if you recognize what those things are, then I believe that gives you a pretty decent idea of where you're going. If you're somebody who always worries when you're not talking out loud, you're just constantly worrying about the future, then in my opinion, there's a good chance that your worries are going to manifest in the future because you're so obsessed about it. You're so obsessed about it that at a certain point, those worries will become reality for you, and you're going to start reacting as those things are your reality. Likewise, on the other side, you can also try to manifest things that point towards your goals, that point towards expanding who you are, perhaps expanding your own personal growth, perhaps expanding your understanding of the world, whatever it is for you. If you are aiming in that direction, then at a certain point, that progress that you are trying to envision is going to become your reality, and you're going to react as if this is your reality. And oftentimes, through various ways that are somewhat magical to me and everyone else, those things that you focus on will manifest. And so my challenge to you today, and just, this is something that you might already know about, but we all need a reminder. Think about the things that are not being spoken out loud. What direction is that going? And then ask yourself, can you change that direction if you want to? In my opinion, yes, you can. But you have to catch yourself if you're stuck in this negative loop or you're stuck worrying about things. You can have a conscious choice in which way your mind goes. Yes, sometimes bad things will happen to people. Yes, your health may decline. Yes, all of these things can happen. But for the things that are in your control, and it's a lot more than you think, do take notice and do take charge so that you can manifest the things that you want to manifest into the future. There's always an excuse to say that the world is against you, and that is completely right. It is. Decay, death, things going bad, things deteriorating over time, things not going your way, that's a given. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. I think everyone, for the most part, recognizes that fact. What's less obvious is your ability to manifest something in spite of that. And that is the control that you have, but it takes effort and it takes conscious decision making to point yourself in that direction. So think about those subconscious thoughts. Think about what that is for you. And as we learn to recognize these things, I believe we can have better self-control into how that fits into our values that we decide on. And it's the best thing that you can say to a world that wants to take you down.